Welcome to Wine and Canvas San Diego. My name is Marcus. I'll be your instructor today. We're going to paint this beautiful painting you see here called Secret Spot, and it looks like it's set in the mountains at sunset, and it's got some beautiful vibrant colors in there, great techniques in there for the trees that you're going to have fun with, and I'm going to walk you through that step by step. So let's get started. So some of the things that you're going to need is you're going to need 11 by 14 canvas. This is gallery wrapped. We've got all our paints on here on our paper plate. These are acrylic paints, and they have primary colors. So we've got yellow, red, blue, and then we've got white and black. Okay. You're going to need some water. So you got a little bit of water for that to clean out your brushes and make the paint go on a little bit smoother. Should have your napkins here. Got a lot of nice napkins to wipe off anything on the canvas or clean your brushes. And then we've got our brushes. So let's take out our brushes here. So I've got 4 brushes. I've got a small round one here for some detail. I've got about a 1/4 inch wide flat brush here for a little bit more cover. And then I've got a number 3 brush, and it's got about let's say about a 1/2 inch wide bristle, and this is a 3/4 inch flat brush, our largest. It covers a lot of paint. We're going to use that in this motion here. It covers a lot of canvas. It's great for detail as well. It's got a great knife edge to give some nice detail. Okay. So when I call out a number 1, 2, or 3 brush, you'll know exactly which one to pull. Okay. All right. So some of the first things that we're going to do, let's look at the painting here. So you'll notice that the painting has a nice composition. I always start with the horizon line here, right here. So this is the top of the water. We call the horizon line. So we're going to start with that. And as we go, also I want to point out that we're going to paint the edges here, because this is a nice gallery wrapped canvas. So we can paint all the edges. So you don't have to hang it out with a picture frame if you don't want to. Okay. So let's see. We're going to start with drawing the scene real basically, and then we're going to come back and we're going to paint the sky and then the water. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing that horizon line. So take out your smallest brush that you have and mix that with water. Always a good idea to get your brush wet with a little water. And since we're going to use a lot of colors here, we're going to start with orange. So we're going to get a little bit of yellow and just a little bit of red. Put it on your plate like that. Make a little bit of orange. It's going to mimic this color in the sky. And then a little bit of water helps. Again, this is just for sketching. We call it blocking out our painting to give us a roadmap of where we're going. So one thing you want to point out is that the horizon line is about right in the middle of our canvas. So it's about right here. So I'm going to put a mark on the left side, right in the middle, and then one on the right side, right in the middle. And then all we have to do is just kind of connect the dots real loosely. Just enough for you to see, because we're going to paint over this as we get rolling. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be really loose. And then you're going to paint the edge a little bit, let's say. Okay. So I think what we'll do is we're going to stay with that, keep it real simple today. This is a more intermediate painting, let's say. Not too challenging, but it kind of steps it up from more of a intermediate or a basic painting, okay? Because it's got some nice detail, which is great. Let's clean out that brush. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll come back later, and we will actually build all of the mountain coming into the ocean, all those beautiful cliffs. And we'll do the pine trees after that. What we'll do is we'll do this painting in 2 parts. And I like to do the first part and then take a short little break to let some of it dry, because we work with layers in acrylics, because all of the cliffs that you see are actually on top of all the other colors underneath. Okay. So this frees us up to paint the sky real nicely without having to paint around all the different cliffs that you see there. Okay. So let's do this. Let's take out our biggest brush. Remember, I call that my number 4 brush. Nice bristles on that one. We'll get that one wet. Okay. And we're going to start by using the oranges. We're going to start here with orange. We'll do some yellow, and then we'll weave in the blue in there. And then we'll come back and add some detail. I think once that dries, we'll come back in later and do the sun. But what's going to happen is we'll do the water while all that's drying. We'll do the water, just the basic color of it, and we'll probably let some of that dry at the time, and then we'll come back. Okay. So let's mix up a nice bright orange. So let's get yellow and put it right on top of that color that we just started for our sketching, and get a little bit of red. Always add a little bit of the colors to your lighter colors. So always start with a lighter color, in this case yellow, and then put the darker colors in sparingly because they get so strong. A little bit goes a long way. And we're going to add a little bit of water in there. Now I want this to be nice and rich. So I want to add a little bit more red to that. You see that mix there? Isn't that nice? Because you want that sun to pop out later. So we need to give a contrasting color, which is that orange. So it will pop out. And just kind of follow me here. We're just going to start right on top of our horizontal line or the top of the water, and just kind of paint some nice brush strokes there. Now you can see it's going to get painted over later on the right or the left. So we're not going to go too far over there because we're going to paint over that. And then just kind of ruffle the edges up a little bit. What we don't want is any straight lines. We want to keep the edges kind of soft, kind of fading, so we can blend the next color into that. Okay. And let me see, I'm going to add a little bit more red in my mix to get that little bit more vibrant. There we go. Nice. We want that sun to pop out later when we add that, don't we? Beautiful. And then we're going to just put some random brush strokes in here. Okay, so what's happening is the sun is picking up some of the clouds and turning them different colors back there. We're going to kind of mimic that. So we're going to put a nice brush stroke here. I'm using the side of my brush at this point to get a nice thin line right here. You see it kind of starts thin and then it thickens up. You can use that side of your brush to do that. Just kind of let it fade away like that. Okay. Get a little bit more water. Acrylic paints like to dry out pretty quick, so gotta add a little bit of water. You can see here we got a nice brush stroke through there, kind of fades away. So we're going to start about up here. We're just going to bring a brush stroke here. Let it go off. Let's keep going with it. Kind of go off there. Kind of pull some color in this way. I just want it to fade away. Make a little bit more right in here. Just kind of play with that, like that. Beautiful colors. Remember to paint the sides as we go, like that. Okay, that looks good. Some of this color actually goes off over there, so let's take a little bit of that right off the canvas. Maybe paint the edge there. There we go. Beautiful. And you can see there's a little bit of color right in here. Just a little bit. It goes right off the canvas. Okay. There we go. Starting to come together. And there's a little bit right here, just a little streak of that color. Let's just take this one and go back. So you can paint something like that, or if you're feeling very creative today, you can do your own thing, right? You can just kind of change it up, make it yours. Either way. And I'm going to clean out my brush after that really good. Get your water out, just kind of dip your brush in there and then kind of clean your brush. So I take my napkin and just kind of wipe the brush to get some of that paint off of there. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to start with yellow. So we're going to do yellow with our clean number 4 brush. Get a little puddle on the side. I call them pink puddles. A little pink puddle there, and add a little bit of white to it to brighten it up. We're going to mix that up. See how that's mixing? Just kind of mix it up there. Get a good batch. So we got a good amount of yellow to put in there now. Okay. So we're going to kind of paint in between. And it's okay if you get that color into the orange. It's quite all right. I'm going to just start in here. Because we're gonna first of all, we're going to lay the color in the gaps, then we're going to come fine tune it, where we actually blend in some of that orange into it. And we're going to leave that open because we're going to paint the mountain into it. We're going to pull some yellow in there. So I'm going right in there, kind of being real loose with it. I'm purposely getting into that orange. I'm lightly blending it in there. Used a little bit of water. You can paint there. Now I'm going over both colors, actually, right? I'm going over both colors with the flat side of my brush. And then up here, we're going to leave some gaps because later we're going to pull some of that blue sky in there. So we want to leave a few gaps in there. So we're just going to have a little bit of yellow just kind of peeking through here and there, like that. We'll have some up here. And paint the edges a little bit as we go. A little bit here on the edge. You can actually pick up your canvas like this. Use the back side, the wooden frame to hold it. You can just add a little bit of color right in there. Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, let's see. So we're going to just clean out our brush a little bit more. Go back to your yellow white again. And let's get a little bit thicker with it. A little bit thicker, and you can get it right into the orange. That's what we want to do. Kind of starts blending the two colors. So anytime you get two colors together, it starts blending it up really nicely. Sometimes you'll get a third color doing that. Just kind of let loose. We're only doing horizontal brush strokes. Have you noticed? Gives the illusion of depth. The sky is more horizontal. The water is going to be more horizontal. Give you the illusion of flat, something flat. Okay. So let's let our yellow orange dry and let's clean out our brush again. Okay. And feel free to pause the video at any time. I think that's the beauty of having a video. You can just pause it until you catch up. Like I said, this painting should take you approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours, roughly. Okay. All right, so while that's drying, we're going to do some blue. So we're going to get clean brush. We got a clean number 4 brush, and we're going to get a nice scoop of white. So nice scoop of white. So always start with the lighter colors and we'll add the darker colors. We're going to get blue. Add some blue right into that mix. You see that? Oh, nice. So we want a kind of a medium blue. Remember, the sun's going down. The sky's getting a little darker. Let me add a little bit blue. You can always add more, but you can't take it out. I haven't figured a way to take out the color you don't need. Not yet. There we go. A lot of people love mixing colors. I think some of the first-time artists just love mixing colors. It's like magic. You get 2 colors together and create a third color. Okay. So sometimes I like to, when I'm done mixing my paint, I like to wipe the edge of the brush like this. You see that? Get some of that paint off there. So I got a nice clean start. And you can scoop it back up. So we're going to use the flat side of our brush. We'll start at the top this time. I'm just going to use some nice big broad brush strokes. A little bit of water helps. Just kind of start covering the canvas first. Just fill in the white area. And as we go, we're going to paint the sides and we'll paint the top. A little bit on there. A little bit there, and then you can paint the top edge a little bit right up there. There we go. You don't have to paint a lot, just enough to cover it. Okay. Okay, we're going to paint right down to the edge of our yellow. Okay. It's okay if you get blue in there, it's going to get a little bit greenish tint. That's how it is in nature. Get right into the edge of our green or our yellow. It's a little bit of green. Okay, something like that. You can always bring your brush all the way across, big brush strokes. You go right up the canvas. Now we're going to come back and we're going to add some blue here. You see these little areas right in through here, like the sky is peeking through. So we're going to first add some off to the left, kind of bring that in. I'm using the side of my brush to do that. See that? Going to bring it in and then let it fade away. It's got a little tail. I call them a tail in there. And you might bring a little bit more here. Thicken that out, maybe fade that out. Okay. And you can always bring some in this way. And create some more edges right in here. There we go, right on top. Should be kind of dry. And just fade it into the painting. So I'm going from the right into the painting. Letting that fade away. Okay, something like that. And you see, we can actually, maybe we can just do something different. Just kind of bring that through. Let it fade up. I'll go up into that. Give a little break there. Why not? So everyone's a little different. There we go. What's neat in my classes is if you look at 30 students, everybody's different. They got a different interpretation, which is great because everybody's unique and different. I love that. I'm just going to fine tune this. You bring some other lines in there. The idea is that you want to break it up. You don't want just the blue sky and a line and then their color. We want to kind of break things up, make it a little bit more interesting. And this is kind of how you'd see the sunset. Like that. Bring that in there. Maybe you could even do a little bit of color right in there. Why not? Just for fun. Let it fade away. Okay. And when you got it to a point that you like, then you can just stop. Sometimes it's good to know when to stop, right? It's kind of like baking. You could overcook something in the oven if you keep it too long. So if you keep painting, sometimes it can go too far. You got to know when to stop. Okay, there we go. Let's see how that's looking. That looks good. Well, sometimes what I also tell students is, at this point, you can actually step back from your painting. So it's a good idea to walk 8 feet back to see how it's going to look when it's hanging on a wall, because you're really never looking at a painting, 2 feet away from you like we are. Viewing it from a distance. I always tell students the further away you get, the better it looks. They all laugh. It's true though. Just clean out your brush really well. At that point, okay, get all that blue out of there. All right, so we're going to let the sky dry. We'll come back and we'll put a few highlights in it. Okay, some of the white highlights that you see. And that we'll do the sun later. So we're going to focus on the water right now. So you can see the water is kind of a darker color, blue, and then some lighter colors. And it's got some nice details. So the detail is like some of the waves, some of the movement in the water. That'll come later when we actually put the mountains and the cliffs in there. Okay. So again, use our number 4 brush. We're using the flat side. Flat side gives us the ability to cover a lot of good canvas quickly. So let's start with actually the darker blue. So get a nice scoop of dark blue, straight blue. And then we're going to mix a little bit of white into it. If you don't want it too light, we're going to start with a darker color. We'll add some of that lighter color blue into it. There we go. You see how that's nice? Not as dark as the straight blue. I don't want it that dark yet. We can add some of that into it later. Then I'm just wiping my brush on the side like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're mainly going to focus right in here, keeping in mind we don't need to go to the edges because we're going to paint our mountains into that scene. So I like to just start with a flat side, kind of run my brush horizontally, right through there and get that nice flat, even line. Just kind of pull it in real slow. Focused, okay. Something like that, okay. And then we're just going to paint horizontally. Right now, we're just going to lay down the first pass of color. Okay, so for me, the paint actually goes on pretty loose in the beginning, and then we fine tune it. So it comes on a little bit rough, and then we get a little bit more detail with it. Okay, so I painted that all the way to here, and then we'll paint our cliff in here, so that'll cover that up, right? We'll paint our distant mountain on top of the water. It's in the further away. We're going to give it a sense of depth later. Okay, so let's just bring some more of that color down. Kind of keep this shape, if you will, of the water. It's all about shapes, really. It's painting that blue shape at this point, right? Okay, maybe a little more color. There we go. Horizontal brush strokes. So we're just going to paint kind of loosely, creating a rough idea of that shape. We don't have to create that shape in much detail because later we'll add all that detail in there, right? Paint this in there. So I'm just going to go over here. So our cliff, you see our cliff's going to come right down on top of that, right? Okay. Beautiful. Love that. Look at that good color. Now you don't want it all just one color, right? Because then it looks flat, right? Kind of flat and boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of lighter color up in here, come back here a little bit more. And to do that, we're going to go back to that original sky color that we used. That's kind of a medium blue. There's a lot more white. We're going to just kind of add that on our brush. Don't even clean it out. Just come up here. Just kind of add that in, then kind of fade it away. Okay. Again, go back into that lighter blue. Maybe put a little bit more on this side. Doesn't have to be on both sides. Then why don't we get some white now? Add it right down in here. Mix it right into that paint that we already mixed, right? A little bit of white, a little lighter blue. We're going to get something lighter right up front. Right up front like that. There we go. Just kind of keep. Now, the more you paint, the more it'll fade away. So you don't want to do it too much, right? You want to keep it nice and bright right down in here. See that? It's right here. It's darker there. Okay. Kind of like that. Just kind of spread it around. Lighter color. Okay. Okay. And then what we're going to do right in here is we're going to make that even darker. And we don't even have to clean out our brush for that, but we're going to get a little bit of that straight blue on your brush, a little bit of that straight blue, and we're going to put it right in here. Okay. So we're just going to start here and pull it across. But don't do it too much. We don't want it to fade away. The more brush strokes you do, the more it blends it. So we don't want to blend it all away. We're going to create this darker shape. You see that? Get a little bit more in our brush, kind of pull it in over here. Like that. See that? And create that little shape. So you don't want just like a splash of color through there. You want to just kind of be more focused with it. It's going to be right in here. You could take the edge of your brush and then you can go right in through there and bring it that way. Yeah, there we go. Maybe this from this side, left to right. All right. Then we're just going to clean it up by going across with nice brush strokes. Okay. Now let's look at the painting. So we got a lot of nice lighter color right in there, steps in with darker color, richer, maybe darker, deeper water. And then it gets really light in here, kind of right in here. So I think we've got something that's a good match, right? Looks good. Okay. And then let's clean out our brush again. Let's clean that out really good. And then I like to wipe it, get all that paint off, right? Wipe it like that. Okay. You having fun so far? Isn't painting fun? For me, it's really relaxing too. I really enjoy relaxing with the painting. You could paint for hours, no distractions, just in your art zone, your creative zone. Feels so good, doesn't it? I love it. Okay, so we're gonna let the water dry a little bit. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back up to the sky. Should be dry by now, looks like it. We're gonna add a few white highlights, kind of like it's picking up some color on the clouds. And we're going to do that with our second brush that we said. It's our number 2 brush that we call it. It's a little 1/2 inch or quarter inch wide flat brush. We can use the flat side or the skinny side. And we're just going to come in and put some brush strokes of white. It's kind of faded. So we're going to get it wet. We're going to get a little bit of white on our brush. We're going to put it on the side of our palette, find a little spot. That's our paint puddle, remember? I call it paint puddles. Let's see, we're just going to come in here and add a few. So just take one here, we're just going to run it across. A couple of brush strokes. Now don't do too many brush strokes or it'll just disappear. You just want to leave it there. Maybe one coming in through here, right on top of some of that orange. Looks like the clouds. Catching some light there, maybe. A little bit right here, a couple brush strokes there. Let's go up here, maybe some up here. You can do it however you wish, right? You're the artist today. Don't you love that? You're the artist. Do it your way. That's what I like about art. There's really no rules in art, is there? Do whatever you want. I love that. Let's do a little bit here. I'm using a flat side. Maybe leave a nice bright streak of white. That looks good. Introduce a little bit here. Kind of fade it back. The more you go back and forth with your brush, the more it kind of blends into that. Okay. And some in here. Looks great. Okay. We're going to let that dry right now. Clean out your brush. It's always a good idea to clean out your brushes between colors so you can keep going with a vibrant color. And when you're done, it's always a good idea to clean out your brushes because they can get stiff and hard if you don't with the paint in there. And they won't be good anymore. You'll have to toss them out and get some new ones. Okay, so we'll keep that clean and dry. And at this point, we're going to let all of this dry. We're going to come back later and then we'll do the highlights in the sun and the water later. But we're going to let this dry now. So resist the urge to keep painting. We want it to be dry because we're going to paint all the cliffs next, all the mountains coming into the water. And then we'll paint some more detail in the water a little bit later. And then the trees are going to be the last thing. Okay, so let's take a little break and then we'll come back. All right, see you soon. Welcome back. Did you have a good break? Let's see if our painting is dry. Looks like it's dry. The sky's dry. Yep, looks like everything's dry. That's great. So let's talk about the next thing we're going to do. Okay. So the next thing is we're going to do these beautiful mountain cliffs coming into the water. We're going to start by blocking all of those in, kind of rough. Remember, it goes in a little bit rough. And then we'll start adding detail. Once we get them in, we'll add this detail where the sun's kind of reflecting on the edges, kind of makes them a little bit lighter. And that gives us some differentiation between this cliff and this one and the far distant one. Kind of breaks it up in there. Once we do that, then we can actually put some detail in the water here. Right, so then we'll know where the waves are kind of washing up on the shore here, and then that'll dry. And then we'll put in our sun. That'll be kind of easy, right? We'll put in our sun going down there. What you want to do is you want to think about the order that you're going so everything can dry before you get there. So these trees will be our last because we want the water to dry with all the waves there, and we needed everything else behind that to dry as well. So we can put the trees on last. Those are some beautiful, nice pine trees. They'll give it the detail we need to bring this painting together at the end. All right, you ready to go? Let's get started. Okay, so Let's get our number 2 brush. Remember, that's the flat little brush here. This is a good one for sketching. First of all, we're going to create the outlines, the shapes of the cliffs. And let's get our brush wet a little bit. And let's get a little puddle of black going. So I get some black on the side of my plate. And I get a little bit of water. Sometimes that paint gets a little too thick. So it's easier to sketch with paint with a little bit more water in it. Makes it easier to go on. I'm all about smooth and easy here. Okay. Here we go. All right, just kind of mix that up really well. See that? Oh, paint puddle. Right? Okay, kind of wipe the sides, gets a little gooey on there. Let's just wipe the sides out. I like to start with this bigger cliff here. We're going to come down here. We're going to create the shape like that. And we'll just kind of fill it in with black any way you want it. I use the side of my brush sometimes for sketching, and I'm going to start up here. So you can see it's about, let's see, maybe 2 fingers high above the water lines. We'll start with that. You see, like 2 fingers. Okay, we're going to leave some nice area for the sun. All right, so we're going to just kind of meander that really loosely. And then this is a cliff, and it comes down, and it comes down around, and it comes down here. Remember, only looking at that shape there. See how it comes down here, leaving a gap here. Like 3 fingers, isn't it? 3 fingers. You can use that for proportions, right? Easier to do that way. I'm just going to create the shape first. We'll come back and kind of fine tune it. We're going to create it this way. It's got a little piece that comes back on it, and then it goes back here and disappears. Okay. And then again, we're going to paint the edge too, right? So we're going to bring that color to the edge like that, right? Okay. And so the water gives you a nice, clean, crisp brush stroke, which we need. We want a nice, clean brush stroke right in there. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. You can kind of create some more jagged rocks, make it look a little bit more interesting. There we go. And then here, okay. So you could either use this brush to fill it in, or what we might do is take our number 3 brush. It's a bigger flat brush like that, and it's good for spreading paint a little bit more quickly than the little one. Right? And here, any brush stroke works, any direction. But just don't paint too much on top of the other color, blue, because it'll bring that color up and start blending it together. So you just want to lay it down really nice. A couple of brush strokes do it. A little bit more here. Let's fill that in there. Mix a little bit more water with it. There we go. Let's come together. A lot quicker than a littler brush. Absolutely. Save yourself some time. There we go. Try that to the edge, doesn't it? Okay. And then back here, get a little bit more black paint. Yeah, just gonna fill that in any direction you want to get that covered. Okay. Nice. Okay, so let's do the side too. When we're at it, let's remember that. A little bit on the side up there. Beautiful. There we go. See that? That worked out well. See, I think we got all of the spots. We can always come back later if we see something we missed. There we go. All right. Let's put that aside for the moment. We'll go back to our number 2 brush that we're used to sketching. And always see, I'm dipping my brush in the water because it tends to dry out pretty quickly on my plate. Keep that in mind. So we're going to do this one right here. It's going to come down kind of jagged. It's going to come back straight. So it's going to come back here. Now it's almost, if you look at the proportions from the top of the painting to the horizon line or the top of the water, it's just below, maybe halfway there. Right, so if this is halfway with your finger, it's just below halfway. That's how you can kind of measure it roughly. There we go. Kind of pull some of that down. And then this one's going to go jagged. We can come back and add a little bit more character in a minute. And it comes back. And then it goes right off. Okay, range, something like that. That's a rough start, right? Okay. So we'll just clean up the edges again like we did. And we've got paint with a little bit more water in it, because it gives you a nice crisp edge. It gives it a really nice quality. Yeah, if you don't have a crisp edge, it looks kind of out of focus, doesn't it? And it looks so much better when it's crisper and sharper. We're just going to fill this in again. I picked up my number 3 brush, bigger brush. Fill that in. Hit the sides. Fill it in any way it goes. Like this. Oh, there you are. Starting to come together. You know, I like the last like 30 minutes of a painting because it really starts coming together, and everybody in my classes get excited. They just get excited to see the results start to show. It's really great. They get excited about it. That's when you say, oh my gosh, it's looking better than I thought. I better pay more attention to it. There we go. Okay. Maybe this one go down a little bit further. Use the side of your brush and get some good detail. I'm going to just use this while I have it and create some little outcroppings here. Make it more jagged. How's that? Okay. It's a little bit different than the original. Every time I do a painting, it's a little bit different than the original, which is good. There we go. Just kind of clean that up. We'll let that dry. Make sure you painted your edges here. Okay. Sit the number 3 down. We're going to come back and do this distant mountain here. Looks like an island, maybe. You know what this reminds me of? My secret spot would remind me of Lake Arrowhead, maybe, or even Lake Tahoe out in California. These are some of the most beautiful lakes. Let's do this. So remember, we're going to keep our sun right in here off to the almost, it's not in the center of the canvas, but it's almost. And we have our other island, let's call it island. It's coming in here. We're just going to use the side of our brush. We're going to build it up. I'm going to let it die into the other one. And then we'll go right on top of the water's edge, horizon, and put a little line right there. Okay. And then again, we just fill it in, right? Just take your brush. You can keep your small brush since it's a little bit more detailed. So typically the smaller brushes are good for more detail. Getting in those little tight spots, fill in some detail. Okay. Now you see, you can't really tell the distinction between the two, right? Because they're the same color. We'll come back in later and we'll make the bigger one lighter, like it's got some reflections of the sun on there. And then you can distinguish between which is further away, which is up close. Okay. And then let's see, we're going to drop down here and do this big rock. That looks like a rock there, doesn't it? Pick up the edge there so I can see it better. Sometimes you have to lift up your canvas to get the very edge of it. We're going to come back here. It's about in the middle of this. We're going to make sure we get the areas that have the water on it. So we're going to start here. Just kind of go into the other one. Oops. Okay. Just kind of fill that in lightly. There we go. And let's see, we're going to pick it up, and you can actually paint the bottom edge a little bit. Okay. There we go. Like that, a little bit on here. Nice. Yeah. Okay. We'll finish the bottom layer. It looks like I need to paint some blue on that to finish that up a little later. We'll do that. Let's go skip over here for a minute and do this bigger rock, and then we'll do the smaller ones. But you can do it in any order you want, right? Because you're the artist today. Do it your way. Your way. Let's do that. So let's come over here. And let's make sure we're into the blue water. Let's kind of go up here and kind of close that one off. There we go. We'll come back in and we'll add that shape. Once we have the lighter color, we'll use kind of a gray to do that. There we go. Going on really nice. Still having fun? Yeah, it was fun. Painting. I love it. Let's do the edges again like we did before. So just, you can pick it up and just paint the edge, and then we'll do the bottom. A little bit on the bottom. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So we'll come back and do the bottom edge later when we're back into the blue. Let's do these little rocks here. I'm going to use same number 2 brush and just going to come in here. We'll do this one on the right. We're just going to add a little straight line. And then we'll just kind of make it look like a rock. Just kind of squiggle your brush. That. There we go. It's got a little hump in it right there. And come over here. We'll do this one. Same idea. Come right in the middle here. Pull out a line like that. And then we'll go up. And then we'll come back here. We'll make that a little further. We'll come back here. We'll fill that in. That is a rock. It's like good rocks, don't they? This is going to be a great painting. I love the colors here. Always reminds me of the mountains. I love the mountains. I love going out and hiking in the mountains. It's beautiful, nice and relaxing. Just clean off her brush. Good time to clean off her brush. I'll just kind of clean it off for a minute. I'm going to clean off my number 3 brush that I left. Get that all cleaned up. Like that. Okay. Just kind of wipe your napkin like that. Get the brush in the water. Maybe wipe it again if you need to. There we go. Nice. Very nice. Keep your brushes nice and clean, and they'll last for quite a while, actually. Yep. Okay. So what are we going to do next? Let's let that dry a little bit. Let's go do our sun. Why not? Let's do our sun, and then we'll come back to the cliffs. Okay. So to do our sun, we're going to use our number 2 brush, the flat side, and we're going to use yellow and white, and we're going to just kind of create a shape, half circle, and then we'll fill it in. So let's do that. Let's get a little bit of white or yellow. Excuse me. Let's start with yellow. We want more yellow. And a little bit of white. Kind of mix that in there. Okay, yellow and white. And then wipe it on the side like that. And then here we go. We're just going to come over here and put it right on top of the water with that nice horizontal brush stroke. And we'll do a half circle on the top. Fill that in there. Well, sometimes it's best to have more white in your paint because it's more opaque. Sometimes using straight yellow is a little bit more transparent. And so you need a little bit more white to cover up. We're just going to lay it on really light because we don't want to stir up the orange underneath. There we go. Just kind of clean it out a little bit, kind of clean it up. There we go. Yeah, let's come together. Okay. And you can always come back and add another color. So once that dries, you can add another color of yellow white layer. Make it even more opaque, it'll stand out. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush out there. That's all there is to the sun. Not much. You can wipe that on your napkin. Let's wipe that on the napkin. Okay, so we're going to jump back onto the cliffs, and then we'll do our highlights in the water, and then we'll do our trees, and we're almost there. That's nice. So let's go back to our black paint puddle. Get a little bit more water into it, mix it up, and then get a little bit of white. We're going to make a light gray. Okay, this is kind of how light we're going to be. Just enough so you can start seeing the difference between the two. And this is going to be on this rock, so we can see the cliff here from the distant mountain. So we're going to start on this edge. And you can just, not doing the whole edge, just part of it. And then we're going to fade it away into the painting. There we go. We're just going to start here. And create an edge, especially right where the two rocks come together. There we go. And then just kind of pull your paint back. Any direction you want. Okay. And then just let it fade away. So just good. And I do little X patterns because it helps to fade away a little bit better. It's kind of like, it blends it a little bit more. Just kind of blend it in there until it kind of fades away. See that? Yeah, you can start to see it, can't you? Yeah, you can see right here the difference between these two. That's great. And if it's not enough contrast, add a little bit more white. Add a little bit more white in the mix. Okay, we're going to do this one down here where the rock is, right to the edge of the rock. We're going to come up here, create some kind of an edge up here. This is where you can kind of sculpt it right in there. Get that gray, and then just go right on the edge of the canvas, and then just again pull it down with different brush strokes. They're all different. They're X patterns, remember? X patterns, just till it fades away. Okay, did that. Let's do it again. So we're going to go on this side, and we're going to add some here, just because the sun's here, and it's casting that light on the edge of the cliff there. We just want to outline the edge first, just like we've been doing. Bring it all the way down, all the way to the edge here. And then just kind of pull it into the paint. Into the paint. Really nice. Isn't that nice? Blends it so well. Makes it look like it's a little bit brighter there. Kind of the illusion. But all of this is really just an illusion. We're trying to make it so the viewer is believing that those are rocks. That's a cliff, right? It's just an illusion. We're going to come down here with a big one. Remember that we're going to start down here, and we're going to bring it up. And we're going to bring it over, like that. And we're going to pull it down. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't see the edge of it on the top side, would you? We want to make sure we see that. Make it really nice and crisp. And pull that color down. And then you might take the bottom or the side edge and bring it over a little bit on the side there. Like that. Just like that. Okay. And then on this side, we keep that one that we didn't do. Okay. Okay, nice. And then I think there's one last thing here on that little rock. Make a little bit on that rock so you can see the top of it. And it's kind of faded away. So the trick is to get those two colors that are side by side the same, to differentiate to where one's further away and one's closer. And the one's got to be lighter, one's got to be darker. Okay, we're going to put a little bit on this top of this rock. So it's catching some sunlight there as the sun goes down for the end of the day. A little bit there, maybe on the edge here. Using the side of my number 2 brush to do that, okay? All right. All right, so we've got all the cliffs outlined. We can see those, they're all done. We're just gonna clean our brush out. And then we're going to add some detail in the water, some highlights. So take out your smallest brush. Remember that little number 1 that we started with right there? Yeah. Let's do that. So a little bit of white, get a little scoop of white, find a little spot on your palette. And we're only going to use little lines back here. So we're just going to start on the edge of your cliff, kind of pull some color really light. Let it fade away, kind of really light brush strokes. They can just fade away, just to give the illusion that there's movement, there's waves in the water. A little bit back here. Pull one right on the edge, pull it right back in here. Then as they get closer, you see they're going to get more of them. At the base of the cliff, there's some that kind of pull out horizontally. They kind of go back here like that. There's some more here. We're going to go right on top, kind of pull some lines out. Like that. Like they're crashing on the edge of that. Right there, kind of a little bit more back here. You determine how much you want to do. There we go. A little bit more there. It gets a lot more because it's closer to us, remember? As it gets closer, it gets more detailed. You see maybe more of it. We're going to go on the right side now, maybe a little bit under that rock. Let it, your brush just kind of skip around. See that? Let it skip around. Let me hold that up so you can see a little bit more detail. See that? Isn't that nice? A little bit more detail. It's up close, so you want to see more detail. You don't need to see it further away. It's just kind of in the back. Here we're going to pull some at the end, right at the base of this cliff, horizontally. It's all going horizontally, remember? Because that's the way it looks in real life. There we go. When you got enough, then you can stop. Okay, we're going to stop on that one. Okay, let's clean our brush out one more time. Okay, now we're ready for the trees, the beautiful pine trees. Nice, so everything is kind of laid in the way you want it. The last thing to do is the pine trees, and we're going to do that in 2 different steps. We're going to first do the straight line for the trunks. I like to start with the trunks, and then we're going to take our brush and we're going to dabble all of the pine needles in there, right? So since they're so far away, there's not a lot of detail, but one thing you do see is kind of light peeking through it. And we'll do that in 2 steps. So let's start number 1 by getting out our smallest brush to do the trunks. Okay, so I'm going to get a little pile of black again. It's important to have the water in it because it goes on really smooth and creates a nice crisp line. That's what you want. Sometimes the paint gets too thick and it's hard to treat it like you're drawing with it. And that's kind of what we're going to do with the trunk. So kind of wipe it. Sometimes it's just a good idea to wipe that on the side of your palette. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll start with the distant ones over here on the left, then we'll do the ones on the right. And what I like to do is you can hold your brush out on the end like this, or you could hold it like a pencil. That works too, right? So I'm going to hold it this way. I'm going to start here at the top, kind of pull a line down. We've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all different heights. we're going to start with the one on the far right or far left, excuse me. I'll pull out a brush stroke there, kind of hold it straight, not to be too straight. Okay, and then we'll do one next to it taller. You see that one's nice and tall. Let's go lower up here. Give a little gap between it. Okay. Get a little bit more water in it. Let's do this one. Okay. And then this one, they could be leaning too. So let's try that a little bit taller. You can pull it up from the bottom, right? And then this one's a little lower. Kind of goes straight up and then it stops. And then this one kind of goes up really tall. Not as tall as the other one, but it stops there. And they can stop. They don't have to be a point on the end yet. We can play with that later. We're going to let that dry. We're going to come over here. These are nice and tall. This one's going to start here at the bottom. And I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. Nice and straight, aren't they? This goes up here, stops about midway the canvas. You see midway, the top and the bottom, just a little bit more midway. The other one, there's keep going up the edge. The cliff, it goes up, 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 and stops short. A little bit taller. And then there's this one. Okay, so here it goes up, 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 up. Okay. Get a little bit more paint. Clean that up a bit. Okay. There we go. Now clean your brush out. That's how you make the trunks. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. I'll show you how to do all the pine needles. And to do that, we're gonna use our number 2 brush. And we're gonna use it a little differently. We're not gonna paint with it in a brush stroke, we're gonna dab with it. So couple things to think about. We're gonna dab with the paint, kind of thick. And there you see they're kind of angled, the brush strokes on the tree. And these are tall and thin. They don't get too wide at the bottom, which is nice. You can do it however you wish, right? They have gaps between it. You can see the light, the sun coming through. That's the nice part about this, I think. But you can see they start here and we're going to kind of angle our brush as we go on each side and just kind of dab into the painting. I'm going to show you that. So again, get some straight black paint. And start with the ones on the left. And on the top, it starts just a little dabble. And then just kind of think about going at an angle. And kind of skipping. Keep some gaps in it so sunlight comes through it. Just kind of dabble it around. Get to the bottom. There we go. Look at that. Looks pretty real, doesn't it? It's a great technique. It's simple, but it looks pretty detailed. In here, maybe start there. Start small at the top. Work your way down, leaving a lot of gaps in it, remember. It's not solid. You want that beautiful sunset coming through that you worked on in the beginning, right? Look at that. Some gaps in it. It's getting a little bit wider. This is going to be paint on top of paint here at the top of these trees. There's one here, a little bit angled. There we go. This little trees here, it's a little bit here. Always start small at the top. And then get a little bit wider. This one again, put a little top piece on it. A little couple branches at the top. Still thinking about angling a little bit, right? So angles. I'm just dabbing my brush into the canvas, just dabbing it lightly. Not a lot. Stop with some gaps here and there. Look at that. Doesn't that look pretty neat? It's pretty real, doesn't it? Now from 8 to 10 feet away, which is how you're going to view the painting right on the wall, it looks more detailed, right? So even though it may not look really nice up front, further away, it looks great, right? It's kind of like the TV, like you're watching TV. You don't watch the TV 2 feet away. You watch it further away because it's close. It's got little dabs of color. And as you get further away, your eye fills all that in, right? Your brain fools the brain to think, oh, these are the colors. This is the shape. We're going to do the ones on the right. Same idea. Start at the top, kind of work your way down. Just dabs of paint. They don't all have to connect either. Be floating out there. Gives the illusion that there's branches hanging down. Neat. Come down here, and then maybe it stops there. Again, we're going to do the next one. Same idea. A little dab of color. Beautiful. Just keep going down, marching down. That. And put a little dab of color, just dabs. Don't look like much at all. They will. Look at that. Okay. Make it full or not. There we go. Yeah. And so these actually get a little bit lighter. So remember that lighter color gray, add a little bit of white into the mix for the ones that are right on top of the other distant mountain. So those will pop out. Let's try a little bit of gray. So it's right in here. A bit of gray. In there. Maybe I'll make a couple others just for fun. Okay. There we go. All right, clean out your brush again. Let's see. We're almost there. How you doing? How's yours looking so far? I bet it looks great, right? Yeah. This is looking good. I think the last thing to do, and the most important sometimes, I think, is putting your initials or your name somewhere on the paint. I like to put my initials, I put them on the right or the left typically. You can do it any way you want, or you can put it on the back, right? So I'm going to use my smallest brush, my number 1. I'm going to do it with the light gray, something that's not too bold, that doesn't stand out too much, but you can see it. Okay, I'm just going to do my name. Let's get a little bit lighter. I'm going to put MT, my initials. Everybody knows who did it, right? There we go. I'm going to hold that up close so you can see how it came out. Look at that. I bet yours came out even better than that, right? Isn't that nice? So now you know all the steps to get there. This is how I approach almost every painting. Same ideas. I draw it out, however minimally it is, to get a roadmap. I start with the sky, the water. I do layers, let that dry. Keep adding layers to your scene. And then before you know it, you're all done. Well, I hope you had a great time today. I know I did. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having other classes with you. Happy painting, everyone. Take care.